Welcome back to the American Football Kickoff. I'm Maria Piece alongside me, goalie DJ Beautiful, and the head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners, Jeff Traylor. Now, Coach, we're going to talk a lot about your team's success playing at home in the Alamo Dome. 29-3 in your tenure there. So, my first question for you is, what is in the water in the Alamo Dome?
This is it, the very last team for today on.
They really bought into us since day one. And the Alamo Dome is just unique. We've been accused of piping in noise and all that kind of nonsense. And when you work for Dr. Compost, there's none of that kind of funny business going on. It's just our crowd that passionate. It's fun.
Well, talking about me and you had conversations throughout the season. You talk about bringing some of that home energy on the road. You guys struggle on the road. What's been the message to your team? I know it's one game at a time, but to bring some of that home energy, bring some of that home love on the road, to have some success on the road this year.
It's the sign of a mentally weak football team, and that starts at the top. You know, the head coach has got to be better. When you can't, we gave up a lot of big plays defensively. We had a lot of untimely penalties in which we earned them. We were undisciplined, and we couldn't run the football consistently. And that's a recipe for disaster when you're on the road.
Coach, go back to last year. You were 3-5 at one point, where it's very easy. You could lose a team, right? At 3-5, you could really go the wrong direction. You end up flipping it. You go 4-1 to finish the year. So you had to take positives out of that. What do you take from that, and then leading into this year with the team you bring back?
I think there's a couple of things. The first one, not only were we 3-5, we also blew the biggest lead in college football. You know, we were up 35-7 at halftime. So then you've got Memphis coming to town, who was unbelievable, and Ryan does a great job with those guys. And then you got a hot North Texas team after that. So it was not looking very promising. Interesting enough, Owen McCown's grandfather, I coached all those kids. His grandfather, Pat, was at our practice versus Memphis. And he said to me, he's like, I've watched your teams play forever. It looks like your championship teams. You are still practicing the unbelievable Christmas. He said, I would not be surprised if you don't go out there and win Saturday. I'm like, I don't see it. I said, I know you think I'm down right now. I'm not seeing that. So, but what I don't want, I am very proud of my kids. Yeah. We did, and we played very well against Army in the one loss. Yeah. It was a great game, and Jeff does a great job always as well. Congrats to those guys. But what I don't want to do is put lipstick on the pig. Sure. And us not address what got us in those problems to begin with. And I really just believe it's what I mentioned earlier. We were mentally weak. We were not a very disciplined button-up unit. It's a direct reflection of me. Unlike what we've been in any of our 5 years there, and we're going to get that cleaned up, I promise you.
I was going to say, so what is the message to your team to clean some of that up? Because you talked about it, the penalties really hurt you guys in some losses last year, and you talked about it on defense. Giving up some of those explosive plays. So where do you go from the standpoint mentally to tell your team, like, guys, this is not who we've been over my tenure here. How did we get back to where we were?
Well, I think first, you can make a soft bed and address the injury situation. And I'm not going to make excuses for the injuries, but I think we had to look as a department of why are there so many injuries. What is that? Like nutrition, strength staff, sleep, practice. All those things had to be addressed. And we really, really put a lot of investment into that. Second, it's everything on the field's a reflection of me, which is an extreme ownership by the head coach. But can the head coach get the players to take that ownership? So none of this is going to work. All this buttoning up and getting tight again. We are being over-the-top anal about the smallest things again. Like we were when we first got there. It doesn't matter. Rules without relationships equals rebellion.
I didn't even know.
Our players are the ones making this go. Owen McCown, Owen Pee-wee, they're the reason it's
so
going to
that means
back.
Whatever we had.
Lipstick on a pig. Today in college football,
I used to be on that team.
Unless you get really good quarterback play. You bring back, talk about Owen, bring back
Listen,
Owen
you
McCown.
behave a lot. You give it a
3,400 yards, 25 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions, protected the football. So you got to feel good at that position.
Especially if you watch the way he played the first 6 games versus the way he played the last 7. You actually watched him transform right in front of your eyes. And he's also the reason probably that whole offense did come back. McEwen came back because of an Amador, Hardy, Henry. We've got all those tight ends, Obermeyer, Thomas, Dan. Like, they all came back, which is unheard of at our level because the money's just so large for those guys to leave. And they all had the opportunity and they all stayed. And I think he is probably the main reason they all came back.
Yeah, because we see all his passing statistics strengths right there. But you talked about it. I think something or a facet of his game that people don't talk about enough is his mobility. And I saw that come to fruition, especially the last 3 games of the season. I think the last 3 games of the season, he went over 50 yards rushing in each one of those games. Just talk about that facet of his game.
Yeah, he is a really good runner with the ball. We got to be smart with him. We got to know when. Third downs and touchdowns, pretty much.
I love that.
Right? But when he got loose versus Temple, and he took it to the house that far, it's the longest run by a quarterback in the history of our school. So Frank Harris did not really like it.
Tommy said,
The only record we've ever broken in Frank.
I might say I don't have a previous job thing.
Owen Pee Wee, you mentioned him. He's here, brings back good numbers, brings back what you wanted that linebacker position. You added Shad Banks from TCU, so you added some pieces to that defensive unit.
Yeah, we lost all 11 starters.
Trying to be optimistic.
I've never had that happen before. Now, we do play a lot of guys on defense, but as far as the guys that were in the starting lineup, Owen,
This is the Alamo Dome.
We had a great player of the year in Clarence Hicks, who then went to Adrian Taylor, who then went to Danye Taylor, and now it's going to Owen. He's waited his turn, high school player out of Cyprus. And I think there's going to be a lot of those Texas high school players that y'all just don't quite know about yet. Kind of like I'm a high school guy, right? Like they've been on the JV, you don't really know about them. They've been developing, and it's their turn to step up. Ty Leonard out of North Shore is a guy that's been in the rotation. He'll be a starter now, one of the leaders on defense. I love Shad. Shad's also out of North Shore. We missed him the first time around, went to TCU, got him the next time around, and Jess Lev has never put a bad defense on the field. One of the things I think is very special about our place is how our players have stayed with us the entire time, but our coaching staff has too. Obviously, we lost Barry Lennon Jr. to Illinois, who's the OC there, and we lost Will Stein to Oregon, who's the OC there. But pretty much other than that, our staff has stayed intact. I'm very grateful for those guys to ride this thing out with me, and I think that has a lot to do with it. And I just bet that defensive staff finds a way to put some good players on the field and put them in the right spots. They've got a bad taste in their mouth too. They really feel bad about the big plays and the penalties. We were dominant almost in every other stat except for big plays and penalties, and we just got to get that cleaned up.
When you talk about that defense and having so many new
That's some
faces on
breaking
it,
news
which
again.
guys do you think need to step up in order for that unit to be successful?
Well, y'all mentioned a couple in Shad. I have a lot of faith in Shad. We have a young man by the name of Brandon Tucker out of played in Duncanville, actually, and we think he's going to have a big year for us. We've got a kid that we think is going to be really good in Kendrick Blackshire. He played at the University of Texas, and we got him the next time. We didn't give him the first time. So our high school coaches really take care of us, and they make sure if their kids are not getting to play where they want to, we'll get them the next time around. We have a kid that's named James Wiley that we think he's going to have a really big year. We got a kid at defensive end named Cam Cooper. A kid, another Texas high school football player, another Vic Shaw out of Pleasant Grove, Texas, another Texas high school football player that you just haven't seen them on the field yet. I'm a big fan of Johnny Bowen. Johnny played at Converse Judson, San Antonio kid. I just think, well, I'm not sure of all the names. I don't really like doing this. If they haven't been on the field and they haven't done it, I don't even like mentioning their names. But so I might be naming a few of the wrong ones and not be naming the right ones. When you're replacing 11, that's a lot. I think our offense early in the year is going to have to hold on for us till we kind of figure out our defense, which is the exact opposite of last year, where our defense needed to hold on for us till our offense kind of grew up.
Let's talk about your triangle of toughness. Where did you come up with this concept and just lean into what it means to you?
Yeah, it's everything for us. I mean, there's a lot in that. You know, it's a cute little graphic, but it's really just so much more than that for us. You know, your brand is when your image and your identity align, and our image is we want to be extremely tough on defense. Well, we were last year, but we were emotional. The next part of that is we got to be able to run the football. We didn't run the ball last year. Running the ball doesn't mean you got good stats. Running the ball means you run it in the red zone. You run it in 4-minute situations. You run it when the other team knows you need to run it. That's a really good running football team. And we didn't do that well. We were very good on special teams last year, which is the third part of that. And then we all have our culture pillars in there that we talk about every single day. But the biggest deal is for us, it's the 2-1-0 Triangle of Toughness. And we want to give a huge shout out to our city. And we want to always represent the 2-1-0. And we vote those numbers in. We'll vote again. And the guys that get in the 2, the 1, and the 0 are the guys that best represent our culture pillars. And it'll be exciting to see. Owen was in a 2 last year. Owen Pee Wee was in a 9. If they get voted in the 2, the 1, and the 0, what that looks like, we'll see. We'll find out fall camp soon.
Fall camp is just around the corner. Coach, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Appreciate y'all having me. God bless. Birds up.
Let's take a look at UTSA's schedule for this season.
All right, this is the last team we're gonna have for the day is from the UTSA. In fact, we are gonna listen to a couple of the players of the UTSA Roadrunners, and that is gonna be up next right now. And then, of course, after that, and hey, and let's welcome in. Let's listen to those two football players. What do you have to say for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I pretty much grew up here, so it's good to be back. Like Owen said, there was a bunch of activities y'all had planned for us. It's been really good.
I mean, like you said, you started your football career at Myers Park here in Charlotte. How good is it to be back here, kind of coming to your roots?
Yeah, I've been a lot of places recently, from whether it be obviously San Antonio, Charlotte, up to Minnesota, where my family is now. So just a lot of places, but obviously it's super cool to be back in Charlotte, especially doing this event.
I mean, you just heard your head coach talk a few minutes ago, just what's gone into work this offseason, maybe some changes that Coach Traylor has instilled and adjusted to shake things up.
Our strength and conditioning staff, we made a lot of changes during the workouts and stuff that we do to make sure that we're prepared for the whole season, mainly for the first game.
And then, Owen, I want to talk about the offense. I mean, you just heard your coach talk a little bit about your game and how good you were with your legs. What have you learned from last season that you're hoping to carry into this season?
Yeah, as an offensive unit, I think, last year, if you look back at it and reflect, we started rough early on through the first half of the season. It wasn't our best performances, and then, halfway through, we got turned around and finished up, really well in the back half of the year. So I think this year it's all about, flipping the script and kind of, starting fast and playing that way throughout the whole year.
I know you have a special relationship with Coach Traylor. Your two uncles play college football, and both of them and your father were coached by him. Just talk about that relationship and what it means playing for him.
Yeah, personally, I didn't know much about Coach Traylor. Obviously, I'd heard stories from my dad and my other family, but a lot of it was involved around basketball, and there was countless amount of stories where my dad would, or Coach Traylor would bench my dad for doing the wrong thing in basketball. So it's a bunch of funny things like that, but just that relationship goes way back, and obviously, blessed to be at UTSA.
That's wonderful. Owen, I want to switch things over to you defensively. I mean, you last year posted 42 tackles last season, a monster on defense. We talked about, losing those 11 starters. We just talked about how the defense has basically been rebuilt and just what we can expect.
Yes, it's I know there's a lot of new players in every position, but the players that we're bringing in are some dogs, so I feel like they're ready to go. And like I said, the strength staff are doing a good job to keeping us ready and get us ready. So I feel like we're gonna be good.
You just talked about them being some dogs, but what about you? Do you have that dog in you? What are you bringing this season?
Of course, I feel like I'm going to bring a lot of energy. I'm being more of a leader, so I'm going to be way more vocal on the field. I want to show everybody my athleticism, not just my athleticism, but my physicality. But I feel like that play a big part in my game.
And then for you both, I feel like UTSA has just been the dark horse the past 2 seasons. What's different about this group as you enter the fall?
Yeah, I think you look back at it, like I said, it was an underwhelming season last year, and I think what's different about this group is basically how we respond in the offseason. We wanted to be more disciplined. Obviously, that starts with Coach Traylor, and then we really bought into that mindset, and obviously buying into the culture he's built here. But it starts every day with practice and the way we respond to conditioning, workouts, whatever it might be. This group's always been, pretty tight when it comes to things like that.
Talk to me a little bit about that new conditioning. You talked a little bit about it, Owen, but just what are some of the things you've implemented that will help you on the field, or things that you've done that has, made improvements?
Just waking up early, going to the training room, make sure my body is right, keep staying healthy.
It's always a good thing, waking up early, getting to the field on time, getting that lift in. Well, before people have a chance to see this team in action, what can they they expect from this group in terms of identity? Is it going to be the same group as last year, or different offense, different defense, different type of explosive plays? What is it that people can expect?
Yeah, I think identity-wise, obviously on offense, we have a lot of returning, so I'm sure, it'll be very similar to what you saw last year. Hopefully, the back-end version of it, where we were executing at high levels. So, defensively, obviously, it's brand new, and Pee Wee, we've got a lot of transfers. It starts with, great leaders like him that have done a great job with those guys, so they'll get bought in, and at the end of the day, we'll compete our butts off.
They just talked a little bit about having a consistent coaching staff, but how important is that to have consistency in order to develop a winning season?
Very important, I'd say, because we gotta have trust in the coaches too, just like they have trust in us.
And if they bouncing around, I feel like it's just gonna mess us up with our game instead of like just us getting on the field, just playing time and like watching film and everything. So I feel like it's very important for the coaching staff to like stay and build what they already started building.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here in Charlotte, spending some time with me at the players' desk. I wish you both the best of luck this season and moving forward.
Thank you
for having us.
Back to you, Maria.
All right.
Thank you, Hannah. 13 teams down.